What's going on? It is time once again. Lethal Collective on Mondays. What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
What is going on?
All right. Happy late Thanksgiving again for everyone.
Yes.
I know it's a new week, but still one last time, right?
Yes. Yes. Still coming off of the old Turkey Day and trying to maneuver around, work out the mashed potatoes and gravy. But yes, to all of you guys in the live chat, thank you for hanging out with us. And we hope that your Thanksgiving was really, really wonderful. Just to say hello to you guys real quick, we got Russell. Russell. Hey guys, let me tell you something. All right. Russell is all right. Russell's all right. Thanks so much for being here, Russell. Hope you're doing well. Bluck is in the chat. What is going on? Hope you're doing well too.
Words, right? And that's kind of my whole stuff, my director, relatives, let her go on, or like that stuff, and other stuff. And so what's interesting is I'll be getting obviously a lot of kind of personal information tonight a little bit, but I have a couple of sisters, and my oldest sister showed, I was really young when this was happening, but I still remember pieces from that era. And of course, they filled me in on the blanks. Of course, my dad's passed already, but he did fill me in on everything. And my older sister too, who was involved. It was my dad and my oldest sister. All right, that is who was involved in this stuff. My middle sister didn't. My mom, of course, I was just too young. So basically, what happened was my dad had got this Ouija board, and my oldest sister, had a real sensitivity to it, whatever you want to call it. And so what happens is they would every single night, just the two of them would meet in the kitchen table, and they would pull out the board, and my dad would ask questions, right? And it all worked through my sister. And so this went on steadily for months, every night at 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Oh yeah, this wasn't like just a once a week. This was like, pretty much 7 days a week, at least 5 days a week minimum. And so this went on for months and months and months. And there came a point where my dad was like, or maybe it was my mom was like, I don't think I'm really comfortable with this. I think you should stop doing this. And so he was like, well, he thought about it, and he's like, okay, he says, I'll tell you what, we'll take a break. So he told my sister, we're gonna take a break for a little bit. Let's see what happens. We may come back to it. So they put the Ouija board up in my sister's in her closet on the top shelf, and put, Dad had some stuff stacked on top of it. So that the first night this happened, my dad goes to bed. He says, instead of getting up at 10 o'clock and doing this and stuff, for whatever they did for like a half hour or something every night, he went ahead and went to bed, lights out. So he's fast asleep, and he's like, he said, and next thing I know, I hear, my mom, is nudging him, saying, somebody's at the door. Somebody's knocking at the door. Go see who's here. And he was like, whatever, I don't hear anything. He dozes back off. So she keeps doing it. And so finally she basically like wake up, like when someone like really like just shakes you and says, there's somebody here. And so Dad says, and Dad didn't want to get out of bed because he was nervous about it. So he laid there, and then all of a sudden the knocking got louder and louder and louder. And finally it got so loud, it was knocking in the bedroom wall behind the bed so hard that if you remember back in the, well, you guys won't remember, not you may, but the ceiling had that like sheetrock, those little things that were like
popcorn ceiling.
Popcorn.
Yes, the popcorn stuff.
I'm familiar with popcorn ceiling.
Okay. So the knocking got so hard that the popcorn stuff started coming down from the ceiling, falling on the bed.
What?
That's how violent the knocking was. So and then all of a sudden, he sits up, he gets up, and he hears my oldest sister screaming. And so he runs to her room, and he looks at her, and she's standing up by her bed, screaming, broken out in whelps all over her body, hives everywhere. And he goes to the closet, and he opens the closet door up, and the Ouija board is on the floor. It fell down from the top on the floor, lid off, stuff everywhere. The stuff that was on top of it was on the floor. Like it literally was flung down from the top of the closet. And she's breaking out and all this stuff. And that was the first night they decided to stop using it. So I have more to say, but I'll stop for a moment. I'm talking for a while. So that's
wow.
And guys, this is no crazy. This is my dad and my sister. And if you could have known them, well, my sister's still with us, but if you could have known my dad, you would be like, this is not that kind of guy. It's like you would think would say stuff like this, or possibly, and my sister, she is like so grounded, so like a rock, man. But anyway, I'll stop there for now. That's the first thing, but I got more.
Now, wait a minute. Can I say something real quick? And Jake, I don't know if you've got something you wanted to say. But first of all, Julie, catch you later. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. Have a good night. And also, the Queen is in the chat and says, "Ooh, there's memberships now."
Oh,
well,
that's right.
yes, indeed, there are.
Yes,
yes indeed. So, definitely. If Val or Denisha, if you guys could put the link for memberships in the live chat, but you can just hit the join next to the subscribe button, and I can also become a member. Thank you very much. And hey, Jamie, good to see you. All right. Jake, did you want to start off, or you want me to? It's a crazy story.
You can go first, man. Yeah, you go nuts.
Okay, can I say something? First of all, this is great. Okay, and I don't know why, but in my mind, I'm getting images of like The Conjuring and stuff like that. You know what I mean? As you're telling the story, let me ask this. I know you've got more to say about it, but you said your dad wasn't he wasn't the type of person that would generally be into this type of thing, right?
Well, yeah, like when you hear a story like this, because I know, trust me, it's why I don't talk about this stuff very often, because a lot of people, when they hear stuff like I said, oh, that's just some crazy kook, hearing things and making stuff up. That's the natural default view of most people. My dad is like, guys, he was I have a hard time describing. The guy was so not that kind of person. That's what I'm trying to say. He's all of this stuff at the end of the day, like fast forwarding, and all of this stuff my dad ended up becoming an ordained minister and preached for a very long time, planted a church, everything, all that stuff. And I mean, God worked all of this out for the good at the end of the day. But he's not one of those people out there telling these grand tales, and that's just not. And my sister is, well, I mean, my gosh, she's the ultra level-headed person. One of the most level people I've ever known, and just not the people that fit the profile when you think of typically. Oh gosh, like on YouTube, you'll see somebody. Oh my gosh, that person is just
right.
That's not these people at all, and it's not going. And obviously, I'm related, but I'm just being straight, asking. If you only knew, you would know. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's just it's a really, really good story. I'm curious to hear what else after this, because it's like, wow, months that they did this on a regular basis, and then you have a night where the house is wow, that's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah.
This sounds like the setup to a horror movie, man. I mean, like, it sounds like, you were kind of horrified watching all of this going on. Like, was this scary, like, even before anything started happening for you?
I mean, again, I was young, right? So a lot of it was kind of over my head. So it didn't, if I had been a little older, I think it would have been a whole different story at that time for me. The freaked out state, or not freaked out, but I guess kind of freaked out state kind of was as I got older and learning about everything. Is in my mind was just like it was wild when I understood what all the depth of it was. But at that age, I didn't get all the nuts and bolts of things. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously this is not very, it's not a comforting thing that's going on right now. This is nothing good. This is not something good that you want to have happen. Yeah, even and you sense that even when you're young.
Yeah. So you said that they were using the board to try to contact God, right?
Yes, because that was always the assumption of everything was that. That's why I mentioned that comment last week. Yeah.
So were they? So because then you said your father became a minister after this experience.
Later on. Yeah.
Were they like religious to that point leading into this, or were they kind of just like, hey, let's see if we can kind of just like maybe a little bit believed, or like were questionable, kind of skeptical, and thought like maybe this could be a way to find out? Like,
yeah, good question. No, they were kind of like never really understood the faith. Like there was like they always believed in God, God, just generally in God, and of course, Jesus and stuff. They knew who he was, but they weren't actively, they weren't very literate in the word, in the Bible at all. And that's later on when things changed later, they began to do that. And once they started realizing, what the Bible says versus what they were being told by this board, and then it goes off from the board to another thing I'm going to talk about in a minute, automatic writing, which is a whole nother thing. But there started to be contradictions, and I'm like, wait a second, this, they can't both be right. One is, they could both be wrong, but they can't both be right. And so one's true, one is a lie and deception. And so that came a little bit later, but at the time it was going on, no, they were not in church. They weren't very literate of the word, and very just kind of what they picked up along through life, and growing up, and that was it. They weren't actively involved in the pursuit of God, other than just, they believed in him, but there wasn't much more than that at that point. Yeah.
Wow, man, that is so crazy. The sister that was in this, I'm assuming that the two of you haven't really spoken about this maybe ever, or in a long time.
No, we used to, like, it's been a little while now, but no, she's always was very open to talk about it. I had questions, and she would share, exactly what happened and how it happened, and what things said. And I mean, stuff that just, there's no other explanation. I mean, when I start to tell you some of the things I'm going to tell you, there's no way it could be manufactured. because my sister was very young. She was, no, I was very young, but she was, I don't know, at the time, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. And again, there's no internet. There's no Google. There's no, the stuff that stuff that came out from her, well, was through her. There's no logical answer other than this was a supernatural demonic activity.
Wow, man.
And I mean addresses that my dad's never been to in his life. Tells him to go there. And dude, I mean, I'm jumping way ahead now. But there was an instance where my dad had come into a little bit of money from an inheritance. And my folks were, they were music majors. They were, they were teachers and stuff. They weren't making a ton of money. Teachers still don't make a ton of money. And this is all these years later. But anyway, even less back then. Well, I had this money and that dad was going to use to do some things for the family and whatever. And these spirits told him through my sister, said, we have a job for you in Boise, Idaho. Now, my dad's a native Texan, never been to Idaho in his life. Okay. And he's like, Boise, Idaho. Now, this was after the Ouija board was over. They were now doing what's called automatic writing, where my sister would hold a pen to the paper and a spirit would move through her and would write through her hand in perfect cursive writing. And she's 13 years old, 14, 12. Perfect cursive writing, pages. Dad had boxes packed of pages that had been written. No. I mean, and it's like, first of all, she doesn't know how to write like that at all. But it would happen. And it's so funny because the spirits told her when they started this, they said, we're glad you got rid of the Ouija board because it was not of God. And then because someone at Dad's work wanted it, said, oh, please let me have it. I've been wanting to do one of those. He gave it to her. And a week later, she came up to him. She said, Jerry, and his name was Jerry. She said, Jerry, that a horrible board. She said, ever since I had that at home, I've been hearing noises all over my house. I have been feeling just really strange feelings. She said that thing was terrible. I threw it in the trash and went out in the dumpster. She only kept it for a week. But wow. But here's the thing. Whenever Dad and my sister started with the automatic writing, because it was all done through my sister. Dad never did it. She's the only one. And the thing said, good job. I'm paraphrasing, getting rid of the Ouija board. It was not, it was of the devil. And Dad said, well, are you God? Are you, and it says, or Christ. And it said, yes, I am Christ. And now now Dad really was like, okay, now this is we're on the right thing now. And then this is when stuff escalated tremendously. And like I talked about the inheritance that came in, it says, we have a job for you. There's a job we have prepared for you in Boise, Idaho. We want you to fly there. And here's the address. Guys, it literally gave the address to this location.
What?
Do you know what the location was? Do you know what the job was?
Well, I'm trying to remember specifically what it was. It was a corporate building. Well, let me tell you. So
it was a minister.
No. I'll tell you what I know.
I think I got you.
My sister would remember that better. I should have talked to her before today to refresh everything. But she writes the address down and says, go here to the third floor and there will be a job for you. And so my dad's like, he's got this inheritance. It's like, man, for me to do this trip, it's gonna wipe out pretty much every single thing I have, but I want to obey because this is Christ. This is the Lord talking. So he did it. He flew to Boise. He got an airplane ticket, flew to Boise. He did it. I don't know if he got a rental car or a cab. I can't remember. But anyway, he got a car, say, here's the address. It's downtown Boise. It's in an office building. So he gets up, he goes in there, goes to the third floor, opens up. There's the receptionist desk. Like, when you open elevator time, they own the whole floor. He walks up there and he's like, yes. He said, I'm here to apply for a job. Do you have any job openings? And she says, oh, yes. As a matter of fact, we have this job. She explained what the job was, gave him the application, and he took it back to his hotel room. So he was going to fill it out and take it back. And here's the thing. And here's what I was talking about the other day, how, the enemy, the devil is the father of lies. He's here to kill, steal, and destroy, and deceive, and to twist the scriptures. That's what he does. So Dad's in his hotel room. He's got the application, and he's like, I just don't want to do this. Like, I do not want to move here. I don't know anything about Boise, Idaho. I just don't want to do it. I'm not going to do this thing. And so, you know what the Spirit said to him? Through the writing, they're like, because Dad didn't do it. He just flew home, and he came back, and he's like, I don't know what the Lord is going to say. And so they had their session when he got home, and they said, the Spirit said, well done, Jerry, you passed the test.
Oh, jeez.
I never wanted you to move to Boise. I tested your faith to see if you would trust and actually go through with going there. And they said, well done. You don't have to go to Boise. And then Dad's inheritance was completely spent. So it stole all that money that, it wasn't a ton, but it stole that cash. It was a total waste of Dad's time. And that happened. Again, he never went back to Idaho, I don't think, the rest of his life. That's one example. That's one example of this automatic rifle. So I'll stop there. You can't make that up. You can't go on Google and just find an address for a job opening in Boise and write it as a 12-year-old girl. It's just there's no other explanation for this stuff. And there's more. I got more specifics next, and I remember this one vividly because it told us where to move and gave a home address, and we ended up living there for freaking 10 years. And that and I got horror stories. I grew up in that devil house. Let me tell you. And I know that sounds funny, but I grew. Oh, I gotta stop.
All right, yeah. Take a sip. Wow. Yeah, Zach. Let me ask old Jakey here. What's going through your mind, bro? This is crazy.
That is crazy, man. I don't know. I don't even know what to, what do you say that could possibly be? You go there, they actually did have the job. It ended up being a waste of time. It's almost like this crazy big practical joke that they were just trying to play on your father there. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Steal the money.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Show them the money. How about you, Fate?
Yeah, like Craven said, it's the whole point is to tear you down bit by bit, piece by piece. If you just come out and like, hey, you got to do, jump off the building, like they're gonna be like, no, like why would I do that? But if you slowly and things start becoming accurate, things start becoming correct. All of a sudden you believe it more and more. All of a sudden you're buying into it. You're leaning into it more. You got some things that you just don't know how to explain. You don't really understand. And yeah, that's how many people lead down that dark path, you know?
Yeah.
So
Wow. Oh my gosh, man. Hey, Carrie's in the chat. What's going on, Carrie? Good to see you.
Hey.
Yo.
Woohoo. All right. Jamie saying, as a person who leans towards spiritualism, God, if there is one, wouldn't speak to you directly as a spirit. Those are evil entities that do that, never follow a spirit's directions. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, there's no doubt this scenario was demonic for sure.
yeah. Well, you know what they say, that heaven isn't paved in good intentions. You know, so
yeah.
So it's, you know, a lot of people, you know, when you're ignorant is
Right.
or ignorance is a dangerous thing. You know, when people don't understand what they're getting into, you know, people don't believe it, or they're skeptical, or they, you know, they're this or they're that, or even if they do believe in it, you know, you're tempting it. But yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I mean, the word even says in scripture, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yep.
And that's just, it's so true. You know, it's, if you don't know what the truth says, what the word says about it, then you're subject to fall into it. Because you don't know. So yeah, man.
Wow.
So that's, you know, the other scenario I can share real quick if you want to hear another one. I mean,
you said something that you remember really vividly, and it was even more intense or whatever.
Man.
I'm so curious about this whole thing, man. It's really a good story, the way it started off, and now we're traveling to Idaho, and wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a whole rabbit hole here, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, maybe I need to get with Periscope pictures and we work on a little short film. I don't know. Maybe I have to check. I'll have to find out who's doing that channel over there. Maybe talk to one of those guys. But yeah, seriously, man. This next thing. Now, this was very similar to the Idaho thing, but it wasn't. It was here. It was local, right? Because at that time we were in Houston, and there's a town. I guess it's about 40 miles north of Houston, called Magnolia. It's a lot bigger now than whenever I lived there. We lived there, but it was a pretty small town. And I remember that was still, automatic writing was still going on, and one of the sessions that he had with my sister said, we have a home selected for you to move to. We want you to move out, and we want you to move to Magnolia. And here is the address. Guys, again, they gave the specific address. And I still know this house is so burned in my head. Like, even now, I remember. I mean, we moved out when I was 14. And I still remember this address, the phone number, everything. So they said, here's the address, the road, and go to the house. It is currently for sale. This is my sister's writing this, dude. The entity is writing it through my sister. The house is for sale. We want you to purchase this home. So we all get in the car. We had to go Ford station wagon. You guys remember back in the day, those like Christmas vacation kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of station wagon. So we load up. We all go down to Magnolia. We go, and Dad, has the old map, the big old county maps, man. That's how we did it.
Yeah.
And so we get there. We turn onto the street. We go halfway down on the right-hand side. There's the address exactly as written. And there's a dadgum realty sign in the front yard, guys, for sale. And so Dad writes down the realtor information, right? Calls them up, and they come out, and we go inside. We do a tour of the house, and it was have you ever, I'm just going to ask y'all, have you ever walked into anywhere in your life at some point, and you just felt strange? Like, you felt like you shouldn't be there, or there's something watching you. It's just this weird feeling you can't shake it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the feeling that I had the minute I walked into this house. And so we're looking through all the different rooms, whatever. It's filthy, just disgusting. Whoever lived there before trashed a lot of this stuff. And so, they negotiate whatever. Dad negotiated. We went home. We talked, they talked about my parents. And they told us, you know what? The Lord wants us to move there. We're going to work a deal out so they get it all cleaned up, yada, 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 we're going to move there. That's going to be our home. And so, okay, nothing. I mean, what do? You go with the flow. You're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before I go into anything else with the house, I'll just stop there for a second, because this is another instance that I witnessed, and I witnessed this one, where the exact address was given, and the instructions were all there to go and buy this house. So I'll stop there if you have any thoughts on that, or want to expand on that at all.
Was the house at least like nice, or was it like some like ran down, just like shack?
Well, no. Here's the thing. Yeah. The house itself was like, it was.
Takes you to some mansion, and it's like,
oh no, nothing like
just
that.
Like, oh, no,
Amityville.
Yeah, no, it was a nice. It was a 1-story, 4-bedroom, living room, dining room, formal living room, and then plus a den. Back when they, some houses still have dens.
Yeah,
and so it was a pretty large house. I mean, it wasn't massive.
Nicer than the one you were leaving. Was it nicer than the place you were leaving?
I'm trying to remember if it would be on par. I would say.
Oh, yeah, because
it's a little bit bigger.
Money,
but not really.
Like maybe it's trying to take you down to a house that like the roof is going to collapse.
Well, let me tell you, this took us from a very nice neighborhood to a neighborhood that had no deed restrictions. And if you guys aren't familiar with what that is, at least down here, that means you can literally have anything you want on your property. No one can stop you. And they put us right across the street from a Volkswagen shop. This guy opened up a Volkswagen shop at his house. Wow. And he littered, I'm not lying, he littered the ditches. All of his property was filled with car parts, broken down Beetles. It was an eyesore of all eyesores right across the street. Wow. And it was terrible. And you felt like you were walking into a junkyard the minute you walked outside. That's what it looked like.
Now, how far was this from your other house?
About 40 miles-ish, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jake.
I got to ask, this happened after the Idaho story, right?
Yes.
And your father still was like, yeah, we're going to listen to the board and all that.
Yeah, because see, this was local. This was only 40 miles from Houston. It wasn't in a state where he didn't know anybody,
Okay.
So it's kind of like just living in the suburb, essentially.
I would still just be like, yeah, nah. I'm throwing that thing away, man. Never going to that house again.
He thinks it's the Lord, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I was gonna say, once he thinks it's the Lord, and two, this thing has been right about like locations and addresses, and things like that. Right? It's like, if I told you, hey, Jake, throw your life savings into this investment, and you don't do it, and I become a millionaire, and then I go, oh, do it again, and then you don't do it, and then I make another million, and it's like, dude, you keep missing out, Jake. Like, what are you doing, Jake? And then
what are you doing?
I throw you into another one, and let's say you don't make $1 million, but let's say you make 100,000. You're like, oh man, Tyler's 3 for 3, and then I tell you another one, and you lose it all. That's basically the path that this man's going, right? It's like, hey, here's the, hey, I got an opportunity for you. change your life, go to Boise, boom, decides no, doesn't do it, misses out on the opportunity. Here's a house that's over here, right? It's like at some point when, if I'm right, 4 out of 5 times, up to that 5th time, you think I got inside trading or something, right? You're my biggest fan. You're my biggest follower, right? You're doing everything I tell you to do. That's kind of how I can interpret this. Is like, this guy is looking at, or his father is looking at this as like, dude, this guy hasn't been wrong yet. So it's like at some point it's like, all right, well, maybe I have to. And then on top of that, he's religious and believes that he's speaking to the Lord. Like it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Well,
damn.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, what's not a recipe for disaster is Carrie sending in the super sticker. Thank you, Carrie.
And the face looks like this.
It's a shocking face. Yes.
Carrie, you're all right. Thank you so much. Seriously, we appreciate you. We do. All right. So you said you had another extension to this?
Well,
story?
yeah. So, there was. I'm gonna just tell you this. I remember this. There was the way our house was set up. Like my folks, their room was at one end of the house, literally the far end of the house, and then ours, the kids, we were all on the other end of the house, basically. So, I remember there was this, as you got almost to my parents' bedroom door, there was this wall. And again, guys, I'm telling you, it's so hard. I wish you could feel some of these feelings I'm trying to share, because it was near the kitchen, right off the kitchen. And I remember one day I was in the kitchen, I was sitting at the table, and I was like, I got this feeling, man. And it's like I kept wanting to look towards my parents' bedroom, but I was scared to look. It's like I wanted to look, but I didn't want to. Well, finally, I'm like, I'm gonna just walk over there. Sorry about my dogs, guys. Hope it's not too loud.
Yeah, you could.
But so it makes it less scary for everybody. So, or maybe, no, I'm kidding. So I walked to the.
I don't have dogs.
That's
sad. Ghost dogs.
Right.
That'd have been really scary.
That's right. Yeah. You never did have them.
I never had a dog since I started the channel. But anyway, I walk over there towards the door, and I look at a part of the wall, and there is this freaking face on the wall. It's not like like our face bulging out. Like it was it almost looked like it was painted under the wall. It was a part of the wall.
Yeah.
And this was a friggin' nasty looking, evil looking. I'd have to have a sketch artist try to draw it out, but I still remember it. And it freaked me out. And it was not there when we looked at the house. It was not there when we moved in. And I guarantee you, no one in my family went there and could do that, because it was in the wood. It was like in the wall itself.
Almost like a burn.
Almost like a burn, yes. It's like a burn.
It wasn't like Freddy and A Nightmare on Elm Street. It was more.
No, it was very much more demonic looking, like more of a spirit, more of a demon than a human look. And I freaked out, man. I ran, I'm like, Mom, And so they came and looked, and everybody saw it. And so Dad's like, I'm going to cover this up. So Dad got some paint. It was, we had paint there. It was yellowish kind of paint. And Dad painted over it. And he's painting, and it covers up the face. And then, guys, I swear to you, on anything you want, this is what happened. After about, 5 minutes, the paint's 5-10 minutes, something like that, the face comes back. It's no longer covered up. And
like through the paint?
Yeah, it's like the paint was not even there anymore.
What?
It was just there. It looked exactly the same. And that was with a fresh coat of paint. And I'm like, at this point, I'm a kid, but I'll never forget this. This was freaking me out. And so my dad came back and he looked at it. He's like, huh. So he grabbed the paint. He put his second coat again to cover up that face, and it covered it up. And then again, maybe 10 minutes later, I go back there and I peek around the little door that, to that section. The face was freaking back in the wall, clear as day. And so this is when and actually it was a good thing this happened, because this is when my parents finally said, we're going to go find a church. We're going to talk to a pastor about what's going on. And this is what started to eventually be kind of the end of things eventually. But even after all of this stuff was resolved, and at this point, like I say, I was 13, I was 14 when we moved out. But even then, as a young teen, 12, 13, I still heard all the same sounds. I always heard doors shutting, all of these sounds. They never stopped. I mean, to this day, my middle sister, I'm not going to say anything more than this, middle sister, to this day, and she's 7 years older than me, she still has recurring nightmares from that house. In fact, whenever a few years, I'm talking about maybe 20 years ago, I sometimes would do some drives around, and then her and I would go ride around, just talk. And I would be like, hey, you want to run by the old house just to see what's going on? She's like, no. And no. And she's like, I can't see that house anymore. And she still has nightmares to this day. If I bring up this house, she already is like, she doesn't want to talk about it. It still really affected her, my middle sister. Stuff there. And again, there's so much more, guys. I'm telling you, that I could tell you about this place that I experienced myself. And I literally, oh my gosh, yeah, it got really bad.
Wow, man.
I went through in my own bedroom, things that I saw, I'll never forget it. And
wow,
I mean, the spiritual world is so real. And I try to tell people, it is as real as you or I are real. It's just we don't see it with our eyes, but it's as real as we are. It's happening right now all around us. And I got to tell you one other thing, and then I'll turn it over. My middle sister, I was just talking about. She was, what was she, 12? I think she was 12. So I was 5. I was young, super young, 5 or 6 at that time. The spirits had written out through my older sister. They said, tomorrow, because mom wanted to go to the Galleria, which, you guys don't know what the Galleria is anyway. Sorry. She wanted to go to a mall, very nice mall, that's like probably 25 miles away. Got to get on the freeway. It's all freeway to get there from there. And she's like, she wanted to go. So the spirit said, tomorrow, and I'm not going to say her name, my sister, my middle sister, let her drive. We will help her. Now she's barely 12. She's never stepped foot behind a car engine or steering wheel. And And so my mom was like, well, okay, because this is I'm kind of backtracking a little bit. At this point, they were so anchored into this automatic writing being the Lord that they trusted everything it said, to the point that they moved to the house. So there was this complete trust. So my mom was like, okay, fine. So she's like, hey, you want to go to the mall? The Galleria? She's like, yeah, let's go. She says, guess what? I'm going to let you drive us there. And so this happened. My sister drove for the very first time ever behind the wheel. She drove all the way from our house, 25, 30 miles of mostly high traffic Houston freeways, all the way to the mall. And Mom said, oh, she drove just perfectly. It was wonderful. She did great in the traffic. She'd never driven before, guys. And drove all the way there and all the way home. And of course, if they got pulled over, that would have been in so much trouble. My mom would. Yeah. But again, Mom completely trusted that it was going to be fine. And so that happened. And now in this mall, it's a huge mall. They have an ice skating rink. My sister had never, ever ice skated before, right? Ever. Never put a pair on in her life. And they said, my sister told Mommy, I want to ice skate. Of course, she's never done it. And the spirits told her the night before, let her drive there, and then we'll help her. And they said also that if she wants to skate, we will help her as well. Now that's the night before. So they get there. Mom never said anything about it to her. She sees the skaters. She's like, oh, I want to skate. And so my mom was like, well, okay. So she got her ice skates on her. And my sister went out there for the very first time on any ice. And not only did she skate perfectly, she was doing turns. She would do little jumps and turns in the air. This guy, she'd never skated before. This is it's insanity, dude. She never fell one time.
Tanya Hardy, she's out there.
No, Tanya. Yeah. No, Nancy, whatever.
Kerrigan.
Yeah, Nancy Kerrigan, dude. She never fell. She never had a blunder. She skated, and I remember saying, "Look, Mommy, I'm skating," and she's like turning in circles as she's going past. Dude, look, man. All right, I'll stop there for. I've been going a long time. No, I'll stop there for now, and maybe someday I'll tell you about what I saw in my bedroom. That still to this day I can not get out of my head. But yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Dun, dun, dun.
So guys, take that with what you will, but that's what's happened. I've witnessed it myself, and let me tell you something. That when you witness this stuff, for your own self, you get a whole new perspective on things, real quick, and you start to realize it's a much bigger picture in play than we often think there is. So, yeah, that's it.
Wow, man!
So I'll leave it at there.
I have so many movie ideas after this.
Right? I know, right, Jake?
All I want is a writing credit, man. Just give me a writing credit.
Wow, that is.
We're gonna build a movie empire with Craven stories.
That's
right, dude. Man. Let's do it, man. I'll be happy to.
The collective universe.
Our own Conjuring universe, it's like just a bunch of stuff based off
finally
Steven stories.
That's right.
Finally.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
They have all these different characters and stuff. All these different.
Yeah. That's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just, man, you did not disappoint one bit. like as you're telling the story, I'm like, I'm seeing it, and it's truly, like I said, you know, I'm getting thoughts of like, I don't know, The Conjuring or The Shining. It's like, what is going on here? This is wow, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
just in case there's any like movie people in watching this, Lethal Collective reserves all rights to all rights and movie rights too.
Exactly.
Right. You don't want somebody watching this and going, "Hey, that's a great idea. Let me turn that into a movie."
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it actually is not a bad idea for a movie. It's really not.
No, it's not.
No, you could totally do it. Yeah, it's.
Oh my god!
It's just it was. I mean, it was real life. That's crazy.
I mean, you got a little bit of everything. You got a little bit of Ouija. You got a little bit of Amityville. You got a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
The part where your dad traveled to Boise, man, I just kept thinking, oh no, this is just like The Shining. What's going on here, man?
That's true.
I'm not gonna lie. I would have been curious as hell though. Like if they were like, oh, this, well, I mean, now thanks to technology, I could have just called. Back then it wasn't as straightforward, but I definitely would have looked into it. Like if something told me that, I would have been like, huh, I wonder if this is true. I would have looked into it. So I don't blame his curiosity for finding out or trying to find out. Right.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I wouldn't have moved either. I would have Boise. Couldn't have given me somewhere different.
Well, they did, but it wasn't any. It was, of course, eventually it was where we ended up moving to. But man. And do you know? I just as a wraparound, that house we left, like I said, when I was 14. So years later, I'm talking 10 years later, my dad and I drove down to see it again, and it's like, hey, let's just go check out the old house. So we drove down there, and we noticed the yard was in dilapidated, weeds everywhere, and we see a county letter on the front door. So we walk up there, and it's like it was a condemned notice. And so and we're like, what in the heck? And it just looked horrible inside what we could see. So we went down the street, and one of our old neighbors was still living there. And we talked to her for ages, caught up with her. And she said, y'all's house is just, it was, when y'all moved out, these people moved in, and they were terrible. It was awful. And I'm thinking to myself, well, these spirits, they sent someone else there, I'm sure. And she said, oh yeah, they had a donkey living in the house with them inside the house. We're like, what? And that's why it got condemned and stuff, because they said that not only, and I got to be real careful, not only was the donkey living there, it was an active participant in activities with the owners.
What?
Yes.
Wait a second.
It was abuse. Yeah, animal abuse.
Oh my God, man.
And it was sick, and it was depraved, dude. It was sick. And we're like, you know what? It was funny when my dad and I left. We were like, you know what? I'm not surprised, because I know for whatever reason, that the demonic spirits that would house, it was some connection there. They sent us there. The people before us, remember I told you I was kind of trashed out.
Yeah.
And when we got there, and it was trashed out again. And yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I know it's gross, but it's the truth. It's what happened.
This is my favorort part of the story, honestly.
I knew it would be.
Jake's like, oh, what a coincidence. I have a donkey too.
What a coincidence. Wow.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, that's why it got condemned by the county. And they shut everything down, arrested the people for animal abuse and all kinds of stuff.
Wow, man.
It's disgusting. In the house, walking in the house.
That's more disturbing than the story.
Wow, that's what a way. That's like an end credit sequence right there, man. That was a great way to like
wait to the end. Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
What a twist!
What a twist! Hey, you know what's not a twist though is that Carrie is always ready to support us in the chat.
And the face is.
Yes, and it is fitting. Carrie, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for
Carrie.
hanging out with us and showing some support. We appreciate it. Wow, I don't even know what to say after that. I mean, I was all into the the spiritual thing, and that was just crazy. And now we get to the donkey stuff, and it's like, what?
Donkey Kong, man.
Clip this out,
sharp left.
Dude. That was more than a sharp left.
Yeah,
we stopped the car. We got out. We started walking aimlessly. Oh man, Blucka.
Right? I know. It would not be any better. It's just the visual of a donkey walking through the living room.
Oh Lord!
I just, I'm just picturing it. It's like,
thanks, Gary. I try. Well, I suppose on that note, as we start winding, how can you follow that up?
You can't. I'm speechless right now.
Yeah, like it was truly a mic drop. If there's ever been a better mic drop situation on the Lethal Collective, tell me about it, because this is at the top of the list.
Craven's like, how can I wrap this up? Donkey.
Yeah, donkey.
Yeah,
that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
No one's going to see this coming.
I see what you did there.
No.
He definitely did that on purpose. Definitely.
I did not. I promise you, I did not.
Yeah.
What's the from Jalen's I don't know, it's Clerks 2, where they have what is it? Candy and the Noble Steed or something like that. And they hire him and they're like, I'm the Noble Steed. This is it's the donkey show. It's that's all I'm seeing in my head is that scene. The scene from that movie.
Oh Lord, holy moly! Well,
that's right, Val. That's now you guys probably understand a little more why I don't watch possession movies and religious-based horror, because I've lived through a lot of it. And
I mean, after the donkey thing, how could you? I mean,
yeah. God forbid a donkey horror movie. Oh,
yeah. There's another idea. Go ahead.
Oh no!
But you can leave me off the writing credits for that one.
I don't want to make that movie, dude. No, I'm good. I'm so good on that.
Scary.
Hey and honey. Oh man!
Do a horror like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. We'll do an Eeyore version.
All right.
Anyways.
Don't do that, man. Oh man. That's always going to be a thing now. Oh my god.
That's what the collective is known now as, the Donkey Show. Thanks.
Yeah,
the Donkey Show.
Oh man. Okay. So as we start to wind down here, you guys in the live chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. What do we got? What do we got going on tonight, Jake? I'll start with you. Save us.
I'm not talking about donkeys on my channel tonight. I am talking about some Scream 7 BS, all that fun stuff that's been going on. So come hang out and we can vent about all that shit if you feel the need to. So come on over. I'll be live in 40-ish minutes.
All right. How about you, Fate?
No. First, I want to address the allegations earlier in this stream. Okay, I am not on the Stu train. I do not think.
Lord.
I still don't think it's a good idea that Stu would return. But I think the studio is desperate enough now to where they need a gimmick to kind of draw and put butts in seats. I don't want it to happen. I still don't think it'll happen. But out of any opportunity that there ever was to bring Stu back, this is probably the best opportunity because they're desperate. They need something. The whole world is like turned on Spyglass. Everyone's upset. So you bring Sydney back. You explain it. I don't think you could do Scream 5 and 6. I think it'd have to be like after Scream 3 or after Scream 4, to where it's like it hasn't been, you know,
Right.
like you can tie it in easier. Because if you have like all these movies in between, then no. But like if you were to do the Stu thing, you'd have to pick it up like continuation from Scream 3. So that way it's like there's still some separation. You don't have as much time to explain. You kind of could just pick it up and where Stu's gotten out or whatever, right? I just think they're desperate enough to attempt something like that. Doesn't mean that I want it to happen. Doesn't mean I'm on the Stu train. Craven already tried to seduce me with donkeys and promises of beverages, and I said,
right.
Oh man.
Well, you know,
Wow.
Faye, here's the thing, man. Because we're friends, I'm gonna hold that VIP seat for you. So don't worry, it's not going. It's still gonna be there for you, dude. So when when that finally comes out and it's all done, you can have a seat and say, "Okay, I'm here. I'll embrace it."
We'll see. We'll see if it happens. I still don't think it'll happen, but I think I do think they're desperate enough to where, like, you know, because that was always the talk, right? It was like if they do something like this, then like it's a sign of desperation. It's a sign of like, okay, we need something to kind of like stir up the audience, and I think they're at that point now. I think that they're at the point where it's like, hey, we're really desperate to attract audiences again and kind of change that narrative. And I think one way to do it would be Stu, because I think that there are enough people that want it. I think even the people that don't want it would at least be curious enough. Like I would still be curious to see how they do it, right? Like, but anyway, but as far as like what I'm doing tonight, I have a couple streams, my watch along stream and then my post game stream over on the Lakers channel. Laker game starts in like 30 minutes, so that'll be fun. So yeah, go check those out. I got like another like 5 hours of streaming.
Wow.
YouTubing is fun.
Yeah, it has to be.
YouTubing is
it has to be. All right. And
Blanca, do not put that into the universe.
oh jeez.
Too late.
And Steven, how about you?
Yeah, man. So tonight, I'm very excited at 8 p.m. Central. So about 2.5 hours from now, I'll be interviewing Jess McLeod, who is a cast member and It's a Wonderful Knife. And Jess played the character Bernie in the movie, and who's pretty pivotal in that second half. So I'm excited to have Jess on tonight. Now that the strike's over, it feels so good that I can actually try to get cast members and actors back too. And so she's Jess is the first actor I've gotten booked. Well, actually, yeah, she's the first. Yeah, Jess is the first. Anyway, 8 p.m. Central tonight on the channel. Come check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jess is going to be there for 1 hour. So you bring your questions. If you've seen It's a Wonderful Knife, come tonight, bring your questions, and let's have a good time with Jess. It's going to be fun.
Nice. Yeah, I enjoyed that character in the movie. Very cool character. Yeah, very, very cool. And I will be streaming in another hour and a half at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Slasher Movie Club. We're going to be talking about Christopher Landon's other movie, Freaky.
Yeah.
And we had a really fun watch party last night. So for those guys that were there, we'll have a couple of stories too. But we'll be doing that at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully you guys will stop by. For you guys in the chat, thank you so much for being here and listening to this fantastic story. Let us know in the comment section down below what you think about it. Some of you have had similar experiences. Let us know in the comment section. Who knows? Maybe in a future stream, we will talk about your experiences, of course, with your permission, of course. And
channel memberships.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So go check out the channel memberships. If you sign up, we got several of you beautiful people that signed up channel memberships. That's kind of the way that we're going to filter a lot of like your stories and stuff like that. Because otherwise we'd get flooded. And, you know, it's like, well, why did they pick their story and not mine and stuff like that? So we've kind of boiled it down. That doesn't mean we won't ever pick any of your guys' things. But, you know, just as all things like with Super Chat, stuff like that, that takes priority. And so if you're a channel member, you get priority. as far as like topics that we can talk on this channel, as well as if you guys have stories that you want us to share, you can remain anonymous. Like if you're like, hey, I'd love to hear you guys tell this story and give your thoughts on it. But like, I don't want people to know that it comes from me, then that's fine. Just let us know and we'll keep your name out of it. If you have no problems with it, then we will. But make sure you let us know that you don't want us to say your name, because if you don't, then we're just going to take it as that. But channel memberships, I'm sure Craven, can you get a link? I know you had the link up already. Can you put a link in the chat again one more time? I know you just put it up earlier.
Yeah, we have.
That way, it just makes it more convenient for everybody. Because I know you had it right there a minute ago.
And also, you can also just hit the join button next to the subscribe button
There it
too.
is.
So it is right there.
I don't know why they name it the join button. What do you like? Because it is. It's like, what am I joining? Like, what are we doing? Like, why don't they just name it memberships? Like, I don't know why. Like, YouTube had to make that so difficult. Just title it memberships, and you just click on the memberships and then pick what you want. Like,
I agree.
They made it so difficult. But anyway, sorry. Yes, join the cult, as Blecka said. Join the cult.
Join it, guys. You can actually help contribute to our content of the show. That's a pretty amazing thing. So, come on and join right now. We'd love to see you get your membership in right here at the end before we go offline. It would be amazing. Instead of the end credits scene, we'll just call it a pre-end screen scene. So you can put it in now. Click that join button. Let's go.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, we will catch all of you guys later on. Thank you so much for being with us. And as always, the collective has spoken. Peace.
Bye, guys.